In general, I like this game, but there are some flaws in it that I can't overlook. I have seen about 10 reviews about this game, and in general, there are two drawbacks about this game. The most common among people who played these games were the disappointment with the number of monsters. I can understand it. We all expected a greater number of monsters, or at least it had more than the base Monster Hunter world. But everyone here knows that the game is not going to stay here and there are going to be updates. With new monsters and new collaborations, the number will improve and increase, without leaving aside that the expansion that will end up coming sooner rather than later. I have counted number of monsters in world that had 26. We have 22 monsters confirmed by Wilds, and from the leaks I bet there were 4 or 5 more, and it has been confirmed true after playing this game. World had some very bad design on their weapons, so we asked for more unique design for each weapons in the game. We have them. World had little variety in monster species, only had bird wyverns, brute wyverns, elder dragons, fanged wyverns, flying wyverns, and piscine wyverns. Now we have all of those and amphibians, fanged beast, leviathan, temnosarian, and the cephalopod. World has little variety in elemental monsters, with Geuratorodus being the only water monster and the Legiana the only ice monster as far as I know. I sincerely think we all prefer all these quality standards for having 10 great whatever that inflates the number of total monsters that Wild offers. The second biggest problem of this game is the lack of difficulty. I don't want to get into the external debate about difficulty in video games, and nor do I want to make the typical excuse of, oh, it's not that the game is easier but you have become better. But I do want to make a note on this, that I have seen the gameplay in all media that emphasizes that the game is not demanding are using support hunters. It's not that I'm saying you shouldn't use them. I think it's a mechanic just like the cat, but it's also obvious that it makes the game much easier. Monster Hunter community is one of the best communities in the world of video games. And I think we all want there to be more and more player each time for these games to be must, and for this the game must be accessible to new hunters. But if you are an experienced player and want a greater challenge, I think we need a difficulty setting much higher than this. We are very used to the fact that difficulty can only be chosen on the main menu by selecting easy, normal or hard modes, when you sometimes have to disable the options that are made for the new players, such as aiming to help in shooters or defender armor or weapons in Monster Hunter world. And regardless of that, I do think this is easily the best Monster Hunter game in my opinion. The roster is very solid and every fight was a blast. Performance wise, it's fine, I guess. For me and my group only had few crashes early on, which were fixed by turning off the Steam's overlay. My biggest gripe is the spacing of the hunts. Things die too fast and not in a very easy typey way, like a cool way. more that in a feel like we are missing some memorability of some of the fights and areas because your first visit is such a blitz. It could do more hunt in each zone before progressing and more HP on monsters so that you get to see more move sets of all those monsters and get to see the arenas and everything. Weapons, armors, tools, and mechanics are all perfect in my opinion. Focus mode is a phenomenal addition to the franchise. Low rank, slow, but story is decent. High rank is very good and it's a well used formula. Wish there are more side quests like in World. Characters are better than the world. Like the characters are, I won't say that the characters are well written, but they are more memorable than Monster Hunter World. More developed. Personally like Eric, I think he's neat. Could have cut some walking and added more filler quests like looking for traces for low ranks. Could have made some quests have better rotation in low ranks. Oh well, weapons are 10 times better than World. Frenzy based mechanic is back, so I am happy. Monster design is really good. Armor isn't all that as ugly as Raidow's set. Needs some polish and content. In terms of positives, the amount of details on the armor and character models and weapons are all very striking. It does a good job at making the world feel more real. The kinesiology looks far more realistic with a lot of reshuffle movement and other realistic movement corrections. The open world layout is impressive. Character models look complex and pretty striking. There's a lot of spectacle which have been the component of Monster Hunter games. In terms of negatives, I would say that this is really feel like a step back in terms of gameplay from Rise. The wire bug movement and the wire bug weapons moves were such a vital part of the enjoyability of Rise, and it feels like much of more stale in form of combat in the world, and it feels very much more stale in combat in this game. Maybe there is a mechanics that they will add in the final release that are similar like after the patching, but the combat really feels underwhelming to me in this type of weapons. For the life of me, I can't find a way to change the button assignment for my controllers. The default layout is very different from Rise. The design team seemed to really put spectacle first and gameplay second in some areas, like with all the more nuanced body movement and whatnot seemingly slow down the response of certain inputs during combat, which I find a bit off-putting, like similar to this year's Gothic games release where the movement is very much realistic but feels very sluggish. I don't know if it's the Unreal Engine's fault, or I don't know what engine Monster Hunter games are releasing, but I don't know. In modern games, the movement feels really sluggish for some reason. Maybe it's realistic, but it used to feel much snappier before. The game seems very spectacle focused with lot of new monsters that I find really more unsettling than interesting. I will admit I'm not putting a huge amount of stock in this one, as lower level monster designs in Monster Hunter games are really some of its best work, but the main bosses, the main hunts are some of the best looking monsters in the entire franchise. Overall, this game is really good. I think it is my second favorite game of this year, right behind Kingdom Come Deliverance. I do think Kingdom Come Deliverance was a better game, but this game is no slouch either. I hope the team behind Monster Hunter really, like Capcoms really, should focus more on their uh, uh, accessibility and more on their performance issues in their releases, because this is the fourth time in a row that they had terrible performance release. The performance of Dragon's Dogma was horrific, and this game is no different. I don't know, they really struggle with optimization, so I believe they should really focus on optimization on their next releases. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching.